Prior to their actions in the musical genre, I've overdone it. It is challenging to respond to such a query with this tune, similar to Jim Jones. Who is Jim Jones? As if he isn't on top of anyone's 10 list. Ha! No one's top 10 list includes him list. Maybe not. Others did. Additionally, Jim was being shown to be a fake by Jay. Why did he act as an informant and rapper? Take Jim to Roc Nation. Alright, let's first respond to the claims that Jim is a Fed snitch. These rumors have been around for some time, but you can rely on 50 Cent to ensure that no one forgets. 50 placed the returning to the forefront with Snitch Talk, and Jim made an appearance on Instagram, in addition to Jay-Z, Diddy, Fat Joe, and a couple others. Additionally, he captioned it, "Hey, you are the one making the call, individual one. The shot's outside. I'm aware that you're working. Don't call me gangster-ish. I'm working. Personal. 1. In case you're wondering what, basically, it connects to those persistent charges that Jim was assisting the federal government during Tekashi 6 to 9's instance of racketeering. Thus, 6ix9ine was spying on his 9 on the stand. The gang of Trey Bloods, a wiretapped phone when the conversation was released. Jim was heard saying that Tekashi is no longer a member of a gang and has to be broken. Naturally, he wasted no time in posting the full call transcript. As everyone knows, Tekashi was attacked in 2018 with firearms and federal racketeering charges, in addition to a large number of 9 members of Trey Gangster Bloods. The Bloods are connected to the crew. The federal government had been building an argument against Manute Ninra when Tekashi was taken into custody. Once charged, he started to cooperate, make an agreement. Tekashi 6ix9ine is a Brooklyn-based rapper who entered a guilty plea to federal offenses, entering a violent gang as a party. He further pledged to help with prosecutors. The rapper's true name claims to be Daniel Hernandez, who joined the 9 Blood gang. In the autumn of 2017, he asserts that he helped them try to murder a member of a rival gang in March of last year. The prosecution thinks the gang carried out robberies, murders, and trafficking in drugs in the Bronx, Manhattan, and Brooklyn, too. Furthermore, according to the indictment, every gang member was required to take part in at least 2 murders, 2 racketeerings, and drug use, extortion, or robbery distribution. The plea agreement could let Hernandez be given a light sentence. He is facing a mandatory jail sentence of 47 years. Thus, during his snitch fest in court in September 2019, Tekashi took the stand and provided information on his previous group, exposing identities such as Anthony Harv, Algeria, Ellison, Mac, Nuke, and a couple of other motions that leave a lot of dirt on the document. So, what role does Jim Jones play? A wiretap tape that was played during the Jones trial was purportedly overheard during the trial of speaking with Jamal Mel on one of the calls. Another top 9 Trey is Morta Jones. Participant in the conversation, they appeared to be preparing a response against Tekashi, following going public with his departure decision from the group. Additionally, Jim appeared to be implying something about retribution. There is no doubt that he definitely really bashful at the moment. However, your picture is up there next to the post. When you visit YouTube, World Star's picture comes next. To this, a split screen was provided to them with a poor quality picture adjacent to his remarks about his crazy son. However, he is doing it to give K9 the impression that he lacks a connection with a guy. That's what he's aiming to achieve. It's what he's trying to achieve. He makes an effort. He's trying to emphasize that it's all right. He must immediately vacillate. Nevertheless, yes, extremely infringed. Super, super wonderful. Thus, there are a lot of activities outside of going for runs and walks. Around 100 securities all around. The day, "Are you aware of who I am?" saying he will eventually become sick of urinating. He isn't compensated enough for it. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. Additionally, he recently canceled every show he had planned and was withdrawn from the group. No, he has to complete it. No, he isn't in a gang anymore. Participant. He expelled the whip. He never belonged to a gang. Shy must expend. It did more than just link Jim Jones to the top 9 members of Trey. Nevertheless, otherwise, it's a bigger question. How did Jim get information about a federal wiretap? Talking about gang activity while continuing to stroll away without incurring any fees? Thus, following the trial, people started to inquire about the evidence. How was Jim captured on camera? Discussing that despite having violated someone, he is the only associate of Nay that isn't charged. Of course, this prompted the important argument that Jim may have been employed by the FBI, or at the very least, they complied with the tap, enough to keep the heat at bay. No one pressed either. Whack 100 is easier than that angle, publicly. Called Jim a government informant, asserting that instead of being arrested, he was assisting the police. Doubled down. Clubhouse was brought up in interviews, one of which included Tekashi. And he did in fact challenge Jim. He must provide receipts and clear his identity, demonstrating his lack of cooperation. Jim Jones? Yes. He ran beside the same group of folks I worked with 10 years ago. There was a Dipset dancing nearby against Jim Jones, who was rushing alongside Jordan and Shadi Kano. J.L. Jones's Mel Matrix killed Roland Martin when he was fleeing. Amazingly, I can't remember his last name. Fuku was racing beside every cat I purchased for his father. Are you aware? What did Jim Jones do? That emphasis didn't give a damn. Not one of them, since Shadi was asleep on the ground when he ran to him. Madison's rug is between Tompkins and a troop bum. Gates was responsible for Mel's murder. Marcus Garvey and his baby's mother were present. Roland Martin was just 9 years old. The trial was a complete failure on his part. Thus, that makes they are the ones who take care of them. Shadi was dozing off on a rug after 6 months of driving a 63 Benz whilst occupying a condominium and having meetings with Kanye. He attended Yeezy meetings with Kanye and board sessions. And Matrix's Dot was the only owner of everything. Lee, his son Roland Martin, brought a new AP home. Money, watches, cars, everything that Jim Jones was unconcerned about. Not one of his can. Furthermore, Jim Jones was telling John that Jim Jones was apprehended by wiretap. Jim Jones was apprehended on wire, guiding the big buddy by tapping on my case. Jell Jones from Mel Matrix to go get rid of my safety. How is it done? How are you? It's cake aim at them. They are not authorized to carry firearms. In New York, nothing. Whack concurs with him, stating that the online audio is available since it was utilized during the trial. 6i9 is in, and Whack asks why Jim Jones isn't included in jail if he was seen on camera stating that he intended to murder 6ix9 by revealing he must have provided assistance. During the trial, 6ix9 started creating some rock music. Nation. Although CEO Desiree Perez has been charged, Whack stopped him before he could say anything further. A lot. People from More to Jimmy Detective Jones do not tolerate anything from Splash Brand. Subpar. Work. For 4 years, I was in I'm Not a Snitch. Thus, I'm the buddy. Your dearest buddy was placed on a wiretap BU. Check out Tekashi and Whack 100. They don't own such receipts since they don't understand. I get it. Okay. Now, Jim, you are aware of where everything is. The discussion over Jones being a snitch has started. Let's go back to Jay-Z. Does Toto comprehend? Why is it possible that Jay set Jim up for a public disgrace? Think on how profound their feud is. Jim and Jay therefore had a protracted battle that lasted more than 10 years in the past. In the early 2000s, it started in 2002 with Dame Dash presenting Jim and Cameron's Transformations entering Rockefeller. The conflict started when Cam was promised a vice. According to Jim, Jay declared himself the president of the label, yet he never officially acknowledged it. At the time, Jay Thors hadn't yet been implemented. I think of the conversation as it's a bit early at the moment. Now, all of this was taking place at around the same time. Time a dot. Nas and Jay were having an dispute at the moment. Jay decided to create a Cam remix. It's the work of Joel Santana's track. Had shots at Nas. Oh boy. Nevertheless, Jim and Cam weren't sensing it. They declined to make the Cam really finish the remix. He ultimately omitted Jay's verse and subsequently said that he would not allow Jay to fight his own record by using theirs. Conflicts. I completed a small task for you in the studio. After that, he had a son with the elderly boy. This elderly man is already at first place. It's popping this too. Yes. After listening to it, I thought, erase that. Emphasize. And that time was essentially to establish the mood. Jim and Cam thought that they were not appreciated by Jay. Thus, that's when covert disses really started to gain popularity. Jim started berating Jay more in radio spots and interviews, calling him out as corporate and disconnected from the street, as well as kind. Now, let's get started. Some unrest seems to be going on. You and Jay-Z The Rock attempt to disdain. Him, that is simply no one. You made fun of him. All I do is sort music. Man, there is not a drama. No, let's get started. We'll go ahead and do that. If you're not familiar with She Is Dame Dash, the creator of Rockefeller Records, he is accountable for taking Rockefeller off the ground, which started in Harlem. You get what I'm discussing? Jim also produced It's Evident that the hype was about honesty and loyalty. He even denounced the snitches. You believe they're working hard, since they must? Furthermore, they aren't maintaining the quirky vibe they once had. Thus, I'm not sure I understand. Perhaps scared to hustle because they're also snitching a lot. Perhaps that is the situation. I would be afraid to hustle because you know that it's what everyone else is doing. Simply spend any prison term, since he is incapable of being present. Now, to refrain from boasting around when I was sort of growing up, happy to go to jail and say he did anything powerful. Despite the fact that I have never personally been behind the walls. However, there used to be some when I was there. Used to throw parties as if I had just arrived. Home as of right now, there you punks. Hesitant to enter and perform the dreadful task? And Jay didn't say anything at first. Answer clearly. Although everyone was aware tension existed inside Rockefeller. Jim then published We Fly High in 2006. That's because the song was a huge hit. When Jay ultimately chose to respond with Hiru in Brooklyn. For you, it's over. Give return the favor. For you, it's over. However, it wasn't done yet because Jim retaliated. With We Fly High beef remixed once again after Jay's age, he went to mix, referring to him as an elderly person and sending direct strikes with statements such as war. And you should slow down and let your old A relax. Before your former A is slain. Hurry up now. By the year 2008, the meat had spilt over into reality. That's when Jim was seen on security footage placing his hand on a person in a Louis Vuitton shop. And as it happened, the individual Lenny is Jay's longtime A&R Santiago. For it, Jim was taken into custody and ultimately entered a guilty plea to a dot assault, which is a misdemeanor. As Jay didn't address the incident directly, after a few months, in an XXL interview, he made fun of Jim by saying songs such as Na 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 are precisely what is causing civilization to collapse. Down like Jim Jones for the moment. Jay stated Trey's differentiation between the happy face and Na 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 Na. It might have perhaps been dubbed Happy Faces. Following that, the beef was silent for a long time until 2015. Dipset's freestyle brought things back to life. After Diddy's victorious victory, Cam and Jim fired bullets at Roc Nation and Jay, mocking the breakfast at Roc Nation and scolding Jay for being too kind and corporate. After then, everything became insane. Jim switched immediately and started begging Jay to take him on. Leaped to February of 2017, following 13 years of Jim formally joining Roc Nation. Another past enemy shows up to depend on Ho's team for assistance to enhance his professional life. As said by Dip, according to reports, Jim Jones is going to Rock Country. Capo posted a picture of some bottles on Instagram. Ace of Spades and Dusky were photographed. Jim didn't hold on to anything. Low-key as well. Jim bragged that he was welcomed to the Roc Nation brunch hosted by Jay, which he had criticized earlier. Additionally, he started publicly admiring Jay and was unquestionably going above and beyond to show off his music passion. However, once more, Jay said nothing, almost ignoring Jim's arrangement alongside Roc Nation. Jay made it clear that he planned to maintain stringent professionalism, and he didn't want to believe he was close to Jim. Now, this is where the action becomes fascinating. There are some who argue that Jay and the Jim have a chess-based agreement move as opposed to a ceasefire. Since we, as everyone is aware, Jay-Z is notorious for consuming his rivals. Consider the locks. Meek, J. Cole, and Fat Joe all had disagreements, with Jay-Z and parted ways, establishing a deal with Roc Nation. Now, how about Jim Jones? Once Jay delivered, Jay avoided getting close to Jay, and Roc were both defending their brands. Additionally, avoiding the Tekashi issue and allegations of snitching. This is when difficulties arise. DJs, I don't act on messing with snitches. That might be only for display. Because, guess what? Desiree Perez is the woman on Jay's right side. The Roc Nation president is a recorded informant. Okay, do you recall when Jay-Z said this? I feel that kneeling is no longer an option. Let's play once more. However, he's seated right behind him. She is worried about Jay's answer, given that she is Roc's CEO Nation. An informant for the FBI, Perez Desiree was detained for smuggling. In 1994, Dawn Graysell. She gave her permission to wear a wire for the DE, just a brief side comment. Dame Dash would not disclose Desiree Perez's name at her Breakfast Club interview. Had certain friends once, but where I hail from, we don't discuss him anymore. From her diligence must have paid off. Since the list was made public, Desire. The criminal history of the press had just been cleaned by the parting President Donald Trump. Thus, if Jay is at ease conducting business with if he had informants, why would he abandon Jim Jones over accusations of snitching? Okay? The tales started at that point. Moving around. How about if Jay-Z were performing? All sides. Maybe it was never about devotion. It could have to do with control. Of power. Ultimately, Jay didn't require Jim. However, it was obvious that Jim needed Jay. And upon touching those wiretaps with Jim's name, Diddy consistently defends the brand. Thus, Jim could have been angry, but Jay might not have been. TC head snee. Maybe he was angry that snitch was not Jim. Additionally, this brings up several questions regarding the kind of business. There is such a thing as Roc Nation. The leader of Roc is Desiree Perez. To all of you, good evening. I provide a special thanks to Desi. A special thanks to Desi. I was freed by her. She rescued me from your agreement. Special thanks to Desire. All right, are you aware of this? Wish one of the cooperative witnesses was Perez. In the 90s with the D. She was caught for possessing 35 kilograms of cocaine in 1994. Perez, Desire, and the whole evil Roc Nation system that includes you, Jay-Z. Indeed, you assert that you have emerged from the gunners' ranks, the groups of gunners. Jim Jones, who is Jim Jones? As if he isn't in anybody's top 10 list? No one's top 10 list includes him list. Not even his family, maybe. Perhaps you're afraid to hustle. Due to their extensive snitching, perhaps that is the situation. I would be afraid to hurry as well, given that the others are snitching, so he doesn't desire you. No time due to this. People cannot tolerate being incarcerated. But Jim Jones, a rapper, is classified as a federal informant in court documents in connection with the Tekashi case. In the original court, which had previously accessible online transcripts. The exchange Jim Jones is in a relationship with one individual. Dialogue with Jamal Mel Murder Jones. He is recognized as a collaborator with federal officials, which might explain why Jim Jones has already avoided going to jail, even with a long criminal history. An ancient audio recording of Jay-Z referring to Jim Jones as Asamine has leaked the snitch. However, Jay-Z, the top individual at Roc Nation, is a confirmed federal informant. So why now? And Jim, why? Thus, as everyone knows, lately, Jim Jones has been the source of many of his comments about Nas that prompted the dispute. At that point, the drama from earlier began to resurface, establishing that he assisted the federal government. However, this is when things become tricky. Jay-Z opposes snitching. What makes his own? To the woman on the right, a well-known informant, Jay offered Jim Jones. But why? The nation of rock. What if he became aware that someone was snitching? To the best of our knowledge, costs are being kept to a minimum. Do you get it? And together we are here. I feel that kneeling is no longer an option. Let me perform once more, but this time observe the response of the woman seated straight behind him. She worries about the DJ's reaction, given that she is OK CEO. First, let's talk about the noises. It began as a result of a leak. In this, a film was discovered. Jay was talking about his dispute with Jim Jones. And he just said that Jim was a fake rapper who didn't register as a fellow student due to his industry's job has nothing to do with music. Why is Jim Jones acting this way? Japan, as you are aware, hip-hop is a competitive genre.